I think I need a trial separation. At first, I thought my husband meant from work. I laughed. I genuinely laughed because I thought he was joking, but he wasn't smiling. I need space to rediscover myself, before we get too old, before I start resenting you. Hi. I'm 47, and until a few months ago, I thought I had a pretty normal life. Not perfect, but solid. I'd been married to Brad for 10 years. We weren't one of those couples that post sappy anniversary posts or take luxury vacations every year. But we had something real, or at least, I believed we did. Brad was steady, practical. The kind of man who color-coded his sock drawer and kept all the user manuals in a labeled file folder. We worked hard, saved well, and even had a retirement plan. We used to dream about it over dinner, retiring early, opening a cozy little cafe by the coast, and spending our weekends on Seabreeze, his pride and joy of a sailboat. That boat was his first love, if I'm being honest. He spent entire weekends sanding, staining, and waxing her. I used to joke that if he ever had an affair, it'd be with a teak deck. Looking back, I should have paid more attention to that joke, because one Tuesday night, everything shifted. Brad came home late, not terribly late, just enough to be off. He didn't give me the usual, traffic was awful rundown. He didn't kiss my cheek. He just dropped his keys in the bowl and sat down like he was about to give a eulogy. He looked pale, sweaty almost. I asked if he was feeling sick. He shook his head, and then he hit me with it. I think I need a trial separation. At first, I thought he meant from work. I laughed. I genuinely laughed because I thought he was joking, but he wasn't smiling. I don't know who I am anymore, he said. I need space to rediscover myself, before we get too old, before I start resenting you. Resenting me? The woman who stood by him through 2 layoffs, 3 failed startup ideas, and his colonoscopy prep. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed. Then he added, "It's not about anyone else. I just need clarity." I asked where he planned to stay. He mumbled something about taking the boat down the coast. "Just me and the water," he said. "No distractions." No distractions. Right. I asked if he was saying he wanted a divorce. No, he said quickly. Let's not rush anything. I think it's best we stay legally married, for now. It gives us both security while I figure things out. Security? So let me get this straight. You want to pause our marriage while you sail around having a midlife crisis? On the boat I helped you restore, and keep me legally tied to you in case your little soul-searching journey doesn't pan out? I didn't scream. I didn't cry. But something in me snapped. Because in that moment, I realized this man wasn't confused. He was already gone. And he just didn't want to lose the safety net he married. And that was the moment I knew. I wasn't going to sit around and wait for him to find himself. Not a chance. This was about to become the most productive separation he'd ever seen. At first, I tried to take Brad's separation request at face value. I gave him space, like he asked. I didn't blow up his phone, didn't cry into voicemails, didn't beg him to come home. I was humiliated, sure, but I told myself maybe this was just a phase, a late midlife crisis. Temporary insanity. But the longer he was gone, the clearer it became. This wasn't about rediscovering himself. Brad wasn't spiraling. He was thriving. He started posting less on social media, but when he did, it was subtle flexes. A shot of the horizon from Seabreeze. A cryptic caption about chasing sunsets. He was tanning, getting back to the gym. Even started growing a beard. He used to hate facial hair. When we did speak, brief, surface-level check-ins, he acted like a man in Zen. Told me not to worry. Said he was journaling, reading, doing the inner work. But then came Lena. She's my best friend and the type of person who notices everything. One morning, she texted me with a screenshot. "Isn't this Brad's boat?" Sure. Enough. There it was. Sea breeze, docked in a sunny marina, far south of where we live. And on the deck, Brad, shirtless, grinning like a teenager. Next to him was a woman I'd never seen before. Blonde, fit, probably half my age. Her arm was looped through his. She was taking the selfie. It was tagged by someone else, one of her friends. That's how it slipped through the cracks. I stared at the photo for a long time. Then I zoomed in. His wedding ring was gone. I didn't say a word to Brad. Not yet. Instead, I went full detective. Within an hour, I had her name, Kelsey. She worked at Brad's company, marketing director, 28. According to LinkedIn, she'd just gotten promoted under Brad's department. I scrolled through her Instagram. They weren't being discreet. There were clues everywhere. Drinks by the dock, stories with the same sunrise view he posted. They were together. They had been together. He didn't leave to rediscover himself. He left to rehearse a new life with someone younger, someone fresh, someone who didn't spend 10 years building a life with him, cleaning his mom's house when she got sick, navigating his career changes, managing finances during COVID. No, Kelsey got the vacation version of Brad, the glow-up, the sailboat sunsets and cocktail selfies. And I got what? Silence. Gaslighting. A marriage on pause like I was some outdated save file he'd return to if the new one glitched. That night, I didn't cry. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat down at the kitchen table, and pulled out the boat title paperwork. His mistake? He thought I'd forget whose name was on it. He thought I'd wait quietly while he sailed off into his fantasy. But what Brad didn't realize is, I own the one thing he can't replace. And now that I knew the truth, I was done waiting. It was my turn to disappear, and I had just the plan. After that photo, I didn't say another word to Brad. No texts, no calls, no confrontation. I went silent, completely. And for the first time in a long while, the silence felt powerful. Let him think I was devastated. Let him imagine I was home, sobbing into old photo albums, waiting for his grand return. I didn't owe him the truth yet. Instead, I pulled out the file box. Brad always bragged about how organized we were, kept all our paperwork in labeled folders, sorted by year. He thought that made us a team. Funny thing about teams? You should never screw over the one who reads the fine print. There it was, the boat title. Sea Breeze, registered to me. He'd given it to me 5 years ago, right after I landed a huge contract with a corporate client. Said it was his way of honoring my win. "It's your boat too," he told me. "We built her together." I guess he forgot that part when he sailed away with his 28-year-old girlfriend. The house was trickier. Both our names were on the deed. That would take time, and lawyers, and patience. But Sea Breeze? That was clean, and it was about to get even cleaner. The next morning, I called a lawyer. A good one. The kind who doesn't blink at cheating spouses and community property. Loopholes. Then I called a broker who specialized in classic watercraft. I told him I had a vintage sailboat to sell. Fast. Last, I called Marco. Marco was an old friend, former coworker, and, if I'm being honest, someone I probably should have ended up with instead of Brad. Years ago, Marco had offered to help me open that cafe we always talked about, the dream Brad and I shelved when life got too complicated. I asked him if he was still interested. He didn't even hesitate. "Tell me when and where," he said. It was like something unlocked in me. For so long, I'd been existing in Brad's world, his rhythms, his routines, his idea of what our future should look like. I'd sacrifice pieces of myself, one compromise at a time, until I couldn't even remember what my version of freedom looked like. Now I remembered, and I was ready to take it back. He wanted space? I'd give him oceans. He wanted clarity? I'd give him clean paperwork and no reason to call. He wanted to rediscover himself? Perfect. Because I'd just rediscovered me, and when I was finished, Brad wouldn't just be missing a boat. He'd be missing everything he once took for granted, and I'd be standing right where I belonged, at the helm. Brad said he was going on a spiritual retreat. Translation? A long weekend with Kelsey at a wellness resort 2 towns over, some mindfulness package with spa credits and ocean views. He didn't bother hiding it anymore, which worked perfectly for me, because while he was out trying to realign his chakras, I was busy realigning my life. I drove down to the marina early Saturday morning. No hesitation, no drama, just a folder of signed documents and a quiet kind of rage that had sharpened into resolve. The boat looked like it always did, pristine, polished, smug. She was docked where Brad always kept her, floating like nothing had changed. But everything had. The broker was already waiting when I arrived, a serious guy in loafers and sunglasses who appreciated efficiency. He introduced me to the buyers, a retired couple from Hawaii who were ready to sail her out within the week. They were kind, excited. The woman ran her hand along the railing like she was touching something sacred. I liked her instantly. We went through the paperwork. Quick, clean. By noon, the deal was closed. Sea Breeze wasn't mine anymore, and that's exactly how I wanted it. Before I left, I stepped onto the deck one last time. Not to mourn, just to make sure I didn't leave anything behind. In the small drawer by the galley, I left a single envelope with a handwritten note. Since you needed time to rediscover yourself, I decided to rediscover what freedom feels like. Best of luck. M. That's it. No drama, no threats, no bitter rants. Just the truth. Folded neatly, sitting where he'd find it the second he realized what was missing. I walked off that dock feeling lighter than I had in years. And here's the part I want everyone to understand. I didn't sell that boat out of spite. Sold it because he didn't deserve it. Because that sailboat wasn't a symbol of freedom. It was a symbol of everything I'd sacrificed to keep a man happy who didn't respect the life we built. And I was done handing over pieces of myself to someone who kept treating our marriage like a backup plan. Let Brad come back from his retreat, expecting to sail into the sunset. Let him stand at the dock with his stupid linen shirt and his borrowed piece, waiting for a boat that's halfway to Honolulu. Let him wonder how it all slipped away so quietly. Because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's paperwork. Sometimes it's silence. And sometimes it's watching a man return to the harbor he abandoned and realizing there's nothing left waiting for him. Brad came back on a Tuesday. I know because he tried to call me 3 times that morning and left one frantic voicemail that started calm and ended with him shouting something about theft. Apparently, he'd gone straight to the marina expecting to take Sea Breeze out for a sunset cruise with Kelsey. But instead of his boat, he found an empty slip and a note in the cabin drawer. By the time he got home, our home, I was already gone. All of my things had been packed and moved 2 days. Earlier, I'd left only what was legally his, stacked neatly in labeled boxes. In the mailbox, he found an envelope. Inside, divorce papers and a copy of the sale agreement for Sea Breeze, just in case he had any questions. He didn't call again after that, but word got out fast. Brad always loved being that guy, dependable, put together, the solid one in the group. Now people started asking questions, and I didn't lie. When mutual friends asked why I'd left so suddenly, I told the truth. Brad wanted a break to find himself, so I gave him one. Sold the boat he left me. Filed for divorce. That's all. No screaming, no public rants, just facts. And let me tell you, nothing ruins a man's mystique faster than the quiet, surgical truth. A week later, Lena sent me a screenshot. Kelsey had unfollowed Brad on everything, deleted the beach selfies, removed the tagged photos, posted some vague Instagram story about boundaries and energy vampires. Apparently, Brad wasn't the enlightened soul he'd marketed himself to be. Meanwhile, I was busy. My architect and I had just finalized the layout for Sea Bloom, the cafe I'd dreamed of for years, but shelved to keep Brad's life stable. Etienne was going up in the exact coastal town we once talked about retiring in. Except now, it wasn't a we thing anymore. It was mine. The name, the design, the vision, all mine. And the irony? The cafe's location? 2 blocks from the harbor, where Seabreeze used to dock. I didn't plan that for drama. I just liked the space. But when Brad inevitably found out, I'm sure it felt personal. Good. He deserved to feel a little exposed, a little lost. Because this time he wasn't the man with the plan. He was the man without a boat, without a wife, and without a clue how he lost both. Let him explain that to his coworkers. Let him watch from a distance as my dream comes to life. He wanted space? Now he's got all the distance in the world, while I build the life he never thought I'd have the guts to create. Turns out, I didn't need a sailboat to feel free. Just a clean start, and the guts to walk away before he pushed me overboard. It's been a full year since Brad asked for a trial separation, and I helped him pack his bags, sold his precious boat, and built a life that didn't include him. Sea Bloom opened 6 months ago, right on the waterfront. It's everything I dreamed of back when Brad and I used to scribble ideas on napkins over late-night coffee. But now, it's mine. Not a shared project, not a compromise. Mine. We've got big windows, sea air, fresh pastries, and regulars who know me by name. The chalkboard menu changes daily. There's music in the mornings, laughter in the afternoons. No tension, no walking on eggshells, no pretending. Just light, warmth, and peace. It's funny how quiet peace is, how it doesn't announce itself. It just is. Most days, I don't think about Brad at all, until one afternoon he walked in. I saw him through the window before the bell even chimed. He looked smaller, grayer, like someone who'd aged 5 years in one. He stepped up to the counter, eyes darting around, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to be there. I didn't say anything. He cleared his throat. "You look happy," he said. I smiled. Not the kind you fake, just the kind that comes when you've already won. "I am," he nodded, waited. I didn't offer a seat. He didn't ask. "I didn't think you'd actually do all this," he said. I shrugged. "Turns out I didn't lose myself when you left." "You did." That landed harder than I expected. He blinked fast, like he might cry, then gave a slow, bitter laugh. "You really sold the boat? To a couple who sailed it to Hawaii? You should have seen their faces." He didn't reply, and that was it. No apology, no speech. Just a man who came to see what he'd thrown away and found it thriving without him. He left the cafe without a drink. I watched him walk down the pier, shoulders hunched, hands in pockets. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like closure. Because the truth is, I didn't destroy Brad. I didn't need to. He did that to himself. All I did was stop waiting for someone who couldn't decide if I was worth committing to. That's the thing people don't talk about enough. When someone asks for space, for time, for a break to figure themselves out, you can give it to them. You can be kind, patient, understanding, or you can realize that love doesn't come with a parking brake. It's either growing or it's dying. And I chose to grow. I reclaimed the parts of myself I'd been giving away in pieces for a decade, and built something beautiful out of them. So if you're ever faced with someone who wants to pause your life while they go test drive someone new, let them. And while they're gone, build something so good they can never come back to it. That's not revenge. That's freedom.